اوكي. اطفي الضوء وسكر الباب. هيو هناك على الحيط وراكي. And pay close attention, and then also pay close attention if I start saying, like, come. Hmm? Well, that's where she needs to be. Okay, start your stream. Good evening, and good evening, and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hisham Tilawi. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight. Well, the first thing we need to do is congratulate the country of Chile. They're clapping back there for the rescue mission, the successful rescue mission to rescue the 33 miners that have been or they were trapped for 69 days. So congratulations, and we hope that they will recover very soon. Of course, they looked healthy and everything else, but we're not going to really tell you much about the rescue mission. You have been watching this for the last 2 months on your television programs and television screens. Many outlets, many firms, almost everyone, not really many, you can say the whole world, sent their reporters to report on what was happening. So you might say it was one of the most televised, most watched event, I guess in recent years probably, or one of them, if it's not the. But, just what was it that, I guess, that struck you the most about this rescue mission? What was it that you really got your brains thinking? Is there anything that you thought about this? If it is, well, give us a call and tell us exactly what you thought about it. Well, I'm going to tell you what I thought about it, and I don't know if this thought even crossed your mind, but what really struck me the most is the attention that the media had given to this event. Even though we just had, in April, we had a similar event where Americans were trapped, and I did not see this media fanfare at that time. So why this media fanfare now? Why, you know, does it really matter to you, or did you enjoy watching hours and hours of nothing? Because that's exactly what the media had done. Sure, you know, the sight of them coming up in this capsule land, but did it really have to take this long, weeks of telling you about it and bringing all these experts and who I thought, why are they telling us all this stuff? You know, what is it? You know, they're spending billions of dollars. You know, this mainstream media, it cost a lot of money to send those reporters there, and it cost a lot of money for the satellite feed, the uplink from Chile all the way to the United States and throughout the world. Well, what is it? You know, just watching scenes like this, except it's on TV, where nobody's doing anything and just sitting there watching it, and then they bring you all these experts, all these medical doctors, Sanjay Gupta with CNN. You know, the one thing that actually struck in my mind, an interview with Sanjay Gupta on CNN, and he was talking about like the well-being of the miners, the psychological impact. And one of the things that struck me the most, something that he said that, well, you know, these people are going to panic because they've been for 69 days, they've been down there together, and now you are going to take them away from the group, and they're going to panic. And I'm thinking, they're going up to meet their families. And we didn't see anyone of them panicking. We did not see any one of them breaking down. We didn't see, I mean, these people were healthy. You know, they were talking about, oh, how skinny they were going to be coming out. Well, no, they've been feeding them that umbilical cord that they dug like 17, I guess about 17, 18 days after they were entrapped there. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't say that, well, wait a minute, where is he going with this? You know, is he cold-hearted that he's complaining about the media coverage of this? Well, part of that question is yes. I'm not cold-hearted, but I am complaining about the extensive coverage, about the hours that they spent on covering this as if the world had stopped and there was nothing else that they can cover. That's what I'm complaining about. And I'm sure you probably, if it did not, well, it should be now, that, yeah, why did they cover it that much? Why was it on the news 24 hours a day with reporters from on the scene, even though nothing was happening? It's like they wanted to make sure that everyone watching TV, anytime within that 24 hours, actually it was like about a week or so, or even more, like 24 hours. Breaking news. It's like the news was broken back in September. Breaking news. Why? Well, of course, I'm glad that the miners were saved and rescued. I'm glad that they will be able to join their families as soon as they're released from health care. They're probably released by now, I don't know. So I'm glad for all that. But you see, everybody felt with those miners. Everybody felt as they were there. Everybody felt as they were part of that group, which is fine. That's good. But who chose that for you? Why did they choose that for you? Why didn't they choose another story for you to be close to? Why didn't do this when in April the United States had a mining disaster and people were entrapped in there in the mine? Well, how come they didn't do this back then? What about all the events in the world that was happening at the same time that were happening at the same time with this mining incident. Well, how come nobody was covering those? I can't imagine. But you know what? We'll continue with this, and you will see where we're going with all this when the whole program is over at the end of the hour. Actually, an hour from the start, which is we got about 47 minutes left. So before the end of 47 minutes, you will know where we're going with all this. But before we go there, who tells you the truth and who's supposed to tell you the truth? The media? We're going to show you a speech by a congressman, a young congressman, about 4 years ago. He was complaining about that the American people are not getting the truth about the war. This was during the Bush administration. Of course, you can say the same during any president. So Bush was not, I guess, unique in this case, because all of them are actually guilty of this, or the media is guilty of not telling you the truth of what is happening. Because maybe you want to be associated with some of these truths out there if you are able to know what the truth is. This is a video, it's a short clip of a congressman. It has nothing to do with the Chilean mining incident, but it's just a way to prove that you're not getting the truth. Let's go ahead and play the video.
We're not trying to scare kids. This president's foreign policy is what's scaring the kids of this country. And that people have said today, why are people believing this? Why are people believing this big internet hoax? Well, it's the same people that told us Saddam Hussein had something to do with 9/11. Same people that told us Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Same people that told us we were going to be able to use the oil for reconstruction money. Same people that told us that we'd be greeted as liberators, not occupiers. Same people, same president that told us the Taliban is gone. Same president that told us that Poland is our ally 2 days before they pull out. Same president that tells us Iraq is going just great. Same president that tells us the economy is going just great. Same people that told us the tax cut was going to create millions of jobs. Same people that told us that the Medicare program only cost $400 billion when it really cost $540 billion. So please forgive us for not believing what you're saying. Please forgive the students of this country for not believing what you're saying. Not one thing about this war that has been told to the American people or that has been told to these college students has been true. Not one thing. Bremer says we need more troops. The Pentagon says we need more troops. And this president can't get them from the international community. There's only one option left. Let's be honest with the American people. I yield back the balance.
Okay, so let's be honest with the American people. Who is supposed to be honest with the American people? Is it the government or is it the media? Because at that time when Congressman Tim Ryan, when he made that speech, how come the media did not tell the country the truth about what was happening? How come the media did not tell the country the truth about Afghanistan and about Taliban at that time? Maybe we would not be there now if the media would have told the truth. Maybe we would not have even gone to Iraq if the media would tell you the truth. Maybe you would not feel the way you feel about certain people if the media would do its job in telling you the truth. In a democracy, there's only one thing that saves a democracy. One thing. Because remember, a democracy, if you want to call it representative republic, that's fine. I don't want to argue technicalities here. But the idea of who's supposed to be governing in the United States, the people of the United States. But for the people of the United States to do the right thing, the people of the United States needs to know the truth. But we're not. We don't get the truth because of the most important tool that we have as people, which is the media. That's why the founding fathers said, freedom of the press. You see, when the press is controlled, that is not freedom. When somebody can pick up the phone or send emails, and all these chief editors in all these media outlets, print, radio, TV, when all of them get up and go to Chile to cover this thing for 2 months, covering this thing, you know somebody was directing that. You know this did not, they could have sent somebody there, and they could have sent someone back a day or so ago to get the actual rescue mission. But that would not have made the news the way it did. You would not have felt the way you felt. Well, we're going to show a couple of videos. Again, no significance to anything. It's just to remind you of that event and remind you of the images you are seeing. So let's go ahead and play the second video, which just gonna remind you, refresh your memory of the images that you've been seeing in the last few days.
Heavy trucks head toward the mine through cheering crowds. They carry special drilling equipment and ride on the faith of an anxious nation. 2 small shafts have already been drilled about half a mile straight down to where the miners are waiting. These channels act as a sort of umbilical cord so that rescuers can deliver capsules of medicine, food, water, and communications equipment. That provides a chance to hear from the men deep underground. The trap.
A cage specially built to help rescue 33 men trapped underground in a mine in Chile has arrived at the mine head, to the delight of relatives who are camped out there. The steel capsule will be used to pull the men out one by one once a rescue shaft has been drilled. It's expected to take up to half an hour to pull each miner up from their shelter at a depth of 700 meters.
From deep, deep underground, the strains of Chile's national anthem. Sung with pride and a certain measure of relief by the 33 trapped miners. On the line, a delighted mines minister taking a long-distance call he never expected.
¿Aló? Lo estamos escuchando todo fuerte y claro. ¿Quién habla?
The miners say they're feeling hungry after 2 weeks existing on a spoonful of tuna and a few drops of water each day. But now they can look to the future with hope. A pair of eyes shining through the dark, confirmation that they had indeed survived. The focus now is on keeping them alive.
Rescuers conducted a successful test on Monday of the capsule that will lift 33 miners trapped underground in Chile to safety. The miners will travel almost 600 meters before reaching the surface, with each trip taking between 10 and 15 minutes.
Han señalado estar de excelente ánimo.
They have said they are in high spirits. Today they were extremely lighthearted when asked the question of how they felt about being a few hours away to begin this epic rescue procedure, unprecedented in the history of engineering and history of mine rescues.
The government has chosen the most psychologically stable and experienced of the miners to be among the first to take the claustrophobic journey. Meanwhile, Chile's health minister said preparations are well underway at Copiapo Hospital, where the miners will be treated.
Sí. Dale, dale. Quédate ahí, boludo.
This makeshift wing.
Okay. All right. Well, those were the images that you've seen, I guess, in the last couple of days. And again, we're very happy. We congratulate Chile and its people for the rescue of the miners. We're glad. Everybody, every one of us felt like they were part of that nation. They were part of those people. We shared with them what they were going through. You know, the danger, the possibility that those miners might perish and be buried in that mine. We all shared that, and we all were very happy when this thing worked. And the media did an excellent job in bringing this to your homes so you can feel with the Chilean people. The media need to do the same thing, ladies and gentlemen, to the Palestinians. They need to do the same thing to the Palestinians who are trapped under the tunnels. You've heard about the tunnels where Palestinians would have to crawl just to go on the other side to Egypt to get food and medicines to bring it back into Gaza. And many of them lost their lives doing that. Do you feel any association or any closeness to them? No, you don't. Because you probably never heard of it. Even if you heard of it, you probably heard about tunnels that they smuggle guns from. So you did not feel nothing with the Palestinians. Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, just imagine if these media outlets would to send their crews and their reporters around this tunnel that you're looking at, and you will have them reporting for 24 hours what people are bringing into those tunnels and what they are taking out of those tunnels. What happens to them when Israeli soldiers find them in there? If they would do this just for one day, not 2 months, just imagine if they would tell you the story of this Palestinian who is crawling under this tunnel. And by the way, many of those tunnels were dug by normal people, just the average Joe out there, or the average Abdul in that case. No engineering background probably, and many of those tunnels caved in. Imagine if the media was right there to show you the bodies when they are bringing out these bodies with loaves of bread tied to their backs, with medicines in their bags. And if the reporters would tell you the miserable way of life that Palestinians are going through because of this Israeli occupation, both in Gaza, the West Bank, and in Jerusalem. If they would be there 24 hours with Sanjay Gupta, he needs to go there to tell you about the health environment and the health conditions in Palestine, in the West Bank, in Gaza. Maybe if you have these trucks would go over there and for 24 hours doing nothing but telling you how bad these people have it. Wouldn't you be feeling, it wouldn't stir the human in you to feel for those people? I guarantee you the next day you will be demanding that Israel stops the occupation of Palestine, that Israel stops the siege on Gaza. You will be in the streets, but you don't hear about it for days and days. So now do you see where I'm going with this? You know, there, 24 hours, we felt like we're part of those people. In Palestine, you don't hear about it. You don't know what these people are going through. The only thing you hear is that they're terrorists, they're bombing, terrorists and bombing. Because you don't know. The media, the controlled media, is not telling you the truth, and you should demand the truth for one reason only, that you are contributing to the death of Palestinians because your money, your tax, your hard-earned money is going to Israel to kill those people and leave them living in the situations they are living in. Let's go ahead, just like we showed you images that you had seen imprinted in your head in the last few weeks. Let's see if some of these images you're going to see would imprint, or if you would remember it tomorrow or not. Let's see if you would feel close to the Palestinians, close enough to maybe pick up the phone, call your congressman or senator and say, enough is enough. Israel must be stopped. If you cannot stop them, then don't send them any money. They will stop. But as long as they're getting billions of dollars from the United States, at a time when people are losing their homes, at a time when people are losing their insurance, at a time when people are losing their jobs, we send in billions of dollars to that bastard state of Israel to make the life of the Palestinians as miserable as it can be. Roll the film.
Winch is the only way to reach the tunnel. 80 feet underground. It's almost a mile long and it's in use 24/7. 30 men earn just $60 a day down here. They say they can get the people of Gaza anything they want from Egypt. First thing to arrive today, chocolate cookies. But this is also how Hamas militants smuggle their weapons, such as these Kalashnikovs and bullets. Over a year ago, Israel attacked Hamas in Gaza, pounding the tunnels every day. But most are back up and running, despite the latest strikes. Every tent marks a tunnel. 30,000 people now work in this underground business.
There are 1,500 tunnels just like this one, running under the border between Gaza and Egypt today, providing a vital lifeline for the people of Gaza and, of course, for Hamas as well. There's millions of dollars to be made here, but the risks are very high.
Well over 100 smugglers have been buried alive in tunnels just like this one in the last 2 years. I'm not afraid, he says. Besides, this is the only work we have.
We're not going to do that again.
Abu Jafar owns a
Today, the tunnel smuggling industry is essential to the survival of nearly 1.5 million Palestinians living under a crippling Israeli-imposed siege. Israel's closure of all of Gaza's border crossings has meant that much-needed goods can no longer come in above ground, so Palestinians are bringing in what they can underground. None of the merchants we met agreed to speak on camera about their operations, but by their accounts, the labyrinth of tunnels today is a full-blown industry employing 6,000 Palestinians in nearly 1,000 tunnels. It is a multi-million-dollar-a-month business, and it's all happening in front of the watchful eyes of authorities on both sides of the border. In Gaza, merchants say Hamas taxes tunnel operators and imposes strict rules on what can be brought in. No weapons, drugs, or the trafficking of people.
It
is the right of the Palestinian people to do whatever they can to break the siege they live under. They have the right to do whatever they can to get what they need, including through tunnels, but at the same time we are watching all the things that are being brought in.
On the Egyptian side, the tunnels are in plain sight of border police, and that's why Egypt is under increasing pressure to crack down on tunnel smuggling, something it says it is doing. In a 2-day period in August, the UN says Egyptian security officials destroyed 28 tunnels. But some Palestinians boast that Egyptian authorities will struggle to shut down all the tunnels because for many Egyptians it's a lucrative trade. For others, they are driven by an ideological duty to help fellow Arabs and Muslims survive an unjust siege.
The Israelis and the Americans are concerned that tunnels like these all along the Gaza and Egypt border are being used to smuggle contraband into the Gaza Strip. But for Palestinians, these tunnels are much more than that. They are a lifeline to the essential goods they need in their lives, living under the Israeli-imposed siege.
To get a sense of what kind of goods were being brought in, we were guided to a nondescript warehouse in Rafah, where a tunnel trader was waiting for merchants to come pick up their goods they'd ordered. On this day, the orders were cigarettes, teacups, and spare parts for motorcycles. Last week, it was a half a ton of medicine. Before that, 20,000 liters of petrol. Tunnel digging is arduous and dangerous work. Our cameraman narrowly escaped when part of the tunnel he was filming collapsed nearby. Yusuf Jebet lost his son and his brother when a tunnel they were digging collapsed. Since then, he has prevented his other children from working in the tunnels.
I have always rejected this work, and even if we are hungry, I won't let my children do it again, no matter what.
According to the UN, since the beginning of 2008, at least 35 people have died in tunnels so far. Despite the risks, those who do it say it's their only chance to earn a living and meet the dire needs of their families and those of a people living under siege. Ayman Mohideen, Al Jazeera, Rafah, along the Egypt-Gaza border.
But an amazing love story has endured for one couple, as RT's Paul Sleer reports.
It's a modern-day Romeo and Juliet love story with a Palestinian-Israeli twist. He lived in Gaza, she in the West Bank. Their virtual romance blossomed through the internet, via email and by telephone. But the lovers were prevented from ever meeting one another by a political situation out of their control.
We asked the Israeli authorities repeatedly to let my fiancée move to Gaza, but our requests were always turned down. So I eventually suggested to her that she travel to Egypt and from there, through the tunnels, to Gaza.
It was a dangerous decision that his fiancée May knew could cost her her life. First of all, there were the Egyptian border guards who were trying to destroy the tunnels by throwing gas grenades down the shafts. Israeli warplanes also sporadically struck to stem the illegal flow of weapons, and dozens of tunnel workers had been killed in recent months. And then there was the danger that the tunnel could simply collapse. May had to crawl for 500 meters, keeping her eyes closed because of the sand that trickled from the roof.
In the tunnel you crawl on your belly. It's narrow. There is no room for standing or walking. You can't even raise your head. The air inside is very moist. I was scared out of my wits, particularly when I kept thinking that it might collapse any moment.
The first time Mohammed saw his bride, she was covered in sand. It had taken her 4 days and thousands of kilometers to travel to him. It was costly, especially in a place where unemployment is high and the average income is $2 a day.
I paid nearly $1,500 American for her tunnel passage. Her travel from the West Bank to Egypt cost another $1,000, and this is over and above the bride money and other expenses.
Gaza has been sealed off by an Israeli blockade ever since the radical Islamist group Hamas came to power in 2007. 1.5 million people live here in one of the most densely populated areas in the world. The tunnels provide a lifeline with the outside world, and in this case they gave a young couple a chance at happiness. But their next chapter looks bleak. They belong to neither a nation nor a state and are victims of both internal Palestinian rivalries and the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians.
4 Palestinians have lost their lives in a smuggling tunnel under Egypt's border with the Gaza Strip following an explosion. The CJ Wad Abu Zuraik suspects Egyptian hand in the explosion.
It doesn't seem enough for the Egyptian government to build a steel wall between Egypt and Gaza to stop smuggling goods, as the trials to stop the action of smuggling have taken a more serious route when 4 Palestinians died in one of those tunnels due to an explosion near the Egyptian side. Some Gazans accused Egypt of spraying gas into the tunnels, while Egyptian officials denied those allegations. Whoever is responsible for the gas spraying in those tunnels, be it Egypt or any other country, should know that a few Palestinians may die, but more and more Palestinians will volunteer their lives to get goods into Gaza. They will do what they have got to do to provide food and medications for their children.
If you want your voice to be heard by millions, let Instablogs be your choice. You can contact us at cj@instablogs.com.
Well, you know, imagine if the story of the bride and the groom, imagine if this was told on American TV for a whole day, like live from Gaza. Maybe followed this woman, this young woman, maybe followed her journey from her home in the West Bank. By the way, if things were normal and if Israel would allow the movement of people, it'll take her about 30 minutes to 45 minutes to get to her husband or future husband. But instead it took her 4 days, and she could have lost her life. Okay? Hey, that's a pretty good story. That's a story that people can relate to and associate with. And if you would see the stories that are taking place in the West Bank, in Jerusalem, in Gaza, if you are able to see the truth of what is happening, you will feel with these people. When you see them dragging a sheep through these tunnels, you will feel with those people. When you see that a father and a mother who lost their little child, infant, because they could not get out of Gaza to go seek treatment in an Israeli hospital for their child. When they spent days, now the doctors in Gaza said, and we're going to show you that probably next week, we will show you that video, where their son was born with some type of defect in his heart. And he had to be transferred, otherwise he was going to die. The doctor said, we don't have the equipment, we don't have the medicine, we don't have anything here that we can do for your son. You need to take him to Israel. They made arrangements with an Israeli hospital to take the little child. Well, they couldn't get out of Gaza. By the time they got all the proper papers ready, took them like 2 or 3 days, when their child was very sick and dying. When they finished all the required paperwork, it was too late because their child died. Now, if they would have shown you that story, and if they would show you every day stories of what is happening to Palestinians, just like they showed you in Chile, definitely you will be part of those people, just like you are part of the Chilean people. Well, something to think about now. The Israeli newspaper Haaretz, a report that Benjamin Netanyahu said that he had 23 years ago, he had predicted the mine situation in Chile. Now they want to portray him as a prophet. Yesterday, Wednesday, which is the day the miners actually came out of the mine, were rescued, the Prime Minister's office had, they haven't said much about the negotiations or so-called negotiations between them and the Palestinian Authority. They haven't said much about freezing settlements or not. They haven't said much about anything, but yet they bombarded the press yesterday with the nonsense that the Israeli Prime Minister actually predicted this 23 years ago in a book that he wrote and published. It is not clear whether Netanyahu, of course, had authorized this or not, but I mean, come on, if his office put it out, you think they're going to put out something like this without him knowing about it? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, following the rescue of the Chilean miners today, that it was one of those rare moments of elation. The Prime Minister's office said in a statement Wednesday, adding that the entire world has been moved by this human act of saving miners trapped in the belly of the earth. We extend our blessings and the blessings of the people of Israel to the Chilean nation and to everyone who assisted in the rescue. Now, these are the same people who are killing the Palestinians. Let's call them miners because they're diggers. Okay? People go, when they are mining, they dig in the belly of the earth, and these Palestinians, they dig in the belly of the earth for very much the same thing. Those miners in Chile, they were there so they can feed their families. Those miners in Gaza, they go under these tunnels to basically feed their children. Same stuff, same story. On one story, the Prime Minister of Israel is happy, and on the other one, he's contributing to the death of many innocent Palestinians who are trying to get bread and medicines for their children. The statement goes on to mention that Netanyahu predicted such an event, a mine disaster, in his book Terrorism, How the West Can Win, from 1987. Quotes from the book were sent to reporters in addition to scanned page of the actual volume. In his book, Netanyahu described a possible mine disaster, saying that even though only a handful of miners may be trapped, the entire world's attention would be riveted to their welfare for a long time. He explained his argument, saying that it would not only be the intense media coverage of such an event that would turn people's attention to the event, but every individual's private feeling that it could be him or her trapped in a similar situation. Okay? Is this why? Is this why so Prime Minister of Israel can come out and say, hey, look, I predicted this media fanfare 23 years ago? He knew that the media was going to cover this 23 years ago? Or was the media directed to cover this the way they covered it so the Prime Minister of Israel would come out and say, I predicted it? Now, how many of you are going to believe that? Because they want to polish this murderer, Netanyahu. They want to polish the image of Israel in the world. Now, the Prime Minister, he predicted this, and he even predicted that the media will cover this, that everybody in the world going to know about it, and you're going to feel with them because you are going to be feeling as if you are part of that group. You tell me any other explanation of why the media covered this event the way they did. Look, it's not the only mine disaster. And very much in every mine disaster, the way to rescue workers, it depends on the situation. So every time you are going to try something new, depending on the situation you are in. Sure, this was a wonderful engineering project that they had done. But of course, you think if it was good engineering, this would not have happened. But it happened, they're rescued, that is good. Thank God for that. Thank God for every person that was saved, for every soul that was saved, for every man that was able to go back to his family, to take care of his family. Unfortunately, Palestinians, they don't have that kind of privilege to have the whole world come and stand with him. If the world would stand with the Palestinians, and if the world would know, if they would allow you to know the truth about what is happening there, things will not be the way they are. Things will be totally different. You might be able to save some Palestinians. You might be able to put a smile. Did you see how wonderful the scene was when the father comes out of the mine and his son goes and embraces him? Yes. Can we do the same thing for the Palestinians? Can we borrow the rescue capsule to send it to the Palestinians? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is fact of life. This is fact of life. You only move when you're asked to move. Your emotions will go into play if somebody starts tickling your emotions. And that's exactly what the media is supposed to be doing, but not tickling your emotions, but showing you the truth, not lying to you, not telling you that we need to go kill them on their streets, just like George Bush and his lies in 2003, just like the media, the free press, freedom of the press, that the founding fathers thought it was extremely important to put it in the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights, freedom of the press. You know, these days you really don't know if you are watching a movie, you're watching Hollywood or Foxwood. They're both the same. They're both scenarios that they give you, they drill in there in your head, and you're supposed to behave and act accordingly. And they're succeeding. They're succeeding very, very much and very well. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the situation, and we wanted to draw a correlation between what happened in Chile and the rescue effort and what is happening in Palestine, where on the one hand you have people who have the capacity, who have the the courage, who have the means to accomplish something. And then with the Palestinians, who very much have only one thing going for them, which is courage. That's all. You know, that was a courageous act Do you think there was a shortage of men in the West Bank where this girl came from? That's courage. That takes courage for that woman, for that young girl, young bride, to go travel to Egypt and crawl through the tunnels on her belly with her eyes closed, because if she would open them up, she's going to have sand fill up those eyes. That's courage. Those are people with courage. All they need is a little bit of support from the world. They need a little bit of attention from the world. They need a little bit of attention from the media. Just 24 hours, one day. One day have all these reporters who are leaving Chile, tell them to go to Palestine. Just one day. That's all. We're not asking for more. We're not asking for much. We're not asking for 2 months. And we're not talking about 33 minors. We are talking about 5 million Palestinians trapped under the Israeli mine. Can we drill through the Israeli mine to get to those Palestinians that are trapped under the Israeli mine? 5 million people. I guarantee you, if the media would just cover that the right way, one day the whole thing will be over, because you will be demanding something to take place. Anyway, we're going to go to the phones with a caller on line 1. Caller, you're up.
Dr. Talawi, congratulate you on the way you approached this topic today. But I have one question. It seems like these tunnels are operating. The Israelis obviously know where they are because the tents kind of give them away. And I'm sure the Egyptians are aware of what's going on the other side. It seems to me that this is taking place under the tacit approval of both countries. Could you kind of fill me in on that, and I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you. Well, actually, it is not, and there's no approval from both countries, because Israel is bombing the heck out of those tunnels. And you see, those tents you see, you don't know where that tunnel is going. And Israel has been bombing those tunnels. And then the Egyptians, of course, they are under pressure. But when you're talking about thousands of these tunnels, you talk about thousands of these tunnels, if you destroy one tunnel here, 10 going to sprout somewhere else. So, I guess they probably could, or the Egyptians, but you have to understand, the Egyptians are under pressure from their people, from the Arab people around them, which Egypt have tried. They put this steel wall all the way down, 30 meters down, but it's just made it harder on the Palestinians because they went through the steel wall. They took bottles of oxygens and acetylene, and they actually, and torches down there, and they actually cut through the steel plate that Egypt had installed. It's just made the process of going through much harder. As far as the Israelis, you're going to have to bomb the whole. You see, you have to understand, there are 2 cities under the same name. Actually, they were one city. It's called Rafah. Now you have the Palestinian Rafah and you have the Egyptian Rafah. Even though it's the same city, it was like split in half. So the border is not like in the middle of nowhere where you can see distinct borders. You have homes on both sides of the borders. Actually, you have families of the same families. They ended up on both sides of the border between Gaza and Egypt. So it's really very hard. Sure, when they find tunnels, they demolish those tunnels and they destroy them. But when you have these tunnels going through a city, it's very hard to do it because, you've seen some tents, But not all tunnels are intense. You know, they could be coming out of a house. How do you know what house? And of course, they did bomb homes. When they find out that there's a tunnel coming out of that home or out of that building, it could be a warehouse somewhere inside the city. So it's really very hard to destroy these tunnels. And it's very dangerous because many homes actually caved in because it was built over a tunnel. So it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. People above ground died and people below ground died just for these people trying to get food and medicine. You know, in some of the reports, and you know what, you know, calling it smuggling, it puts that negative meaning to it. You know, I guess, you know, in a way it is, but, you know, technically it is. You know, smuggling is when you don't pass through border crossings. You know, you're smuggling stuff. But what do? So I guess we need a different term when you have to, and when you're desperate, when it's a matter of life or death, and you have to go and get food and medicine. I guess it's still smuggling, but with a positive feeling. Well, anyway, I appreciate the call, and you know, I really hope we were able to make you see how the media plays a big role in who you like, who you hate, who you help, and who you feel with. That's all we have for today. All we have time to say is we thank you for watching, and hopefully we will see you next Thursday, same time, same place. Go do the right thing and think of those Palestinians who are in desperate need of your help. And you can. You really can. You just have to speak. You have to speak more to your friends. You have to speak more to your neighbors. Keep them in your prayers. Good night.